Miranda Devine, thanks for joining us again. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, their first joint press event, pretty tightly scripted. How did you read it?
Yeah, very good description of it, Chris. Look, I mean, it was a little awkward compared to the usual sort of vice presidential excitement that goes on with confetti and balloons and screaming crowds. I think that everybody expected that it would be Kamala Harris, and she probably represents the best opportunity he has to try and add some vim and vigour to his rather moribund campaign. She's very similar to him in that she's a real flip-flopper and a real chameleon, and someone who's had several different positions on every issue, and she's gone way to the left, and now both of them are feigning that they are moderates, even though their policy platform is incredibly radical and left-wing because it's been formulated with Bernie Sanders. But they, Kamala Harris is there specifically to pick up or to turn out more black votes, not necessarily pick any more up, but turn out black votes in swing states, places like North Carolina, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona. It's a very tight race at the moment, and she's there just to make sure that more black voters come out to vote, and also more suburban white women.
So tell us, Miranda, about this identity politics. We know that Joe Biden was going to choose a running mate who was a black woman. He was very open about that. So Kamala Harris has been chosen from a range of African-American women in the main. It's so blatant, the identity politics being played. Is there any backlash, or do you expect there'll be any sort of voter backlash against that? Or will it work? Or is this just because this is what people expect? They understand the politics being played?
Well, I mean, it's sort of odd that Joe Biden, who's, not the most energetic and exciting candidate, would have boxed himself into a corner, A, by saying because of the Me Too movement that he was going to choose a woman, and then, because of the George Floyd dramas, then sort of being further boxed in by pretty much admitting that he was only looking at black women. So it just, like all these sort of quota-driven or tokenistic appointments, it always backfires because it makes people think that the person who's chosen wasn't chosen on their own merits, and whether that's fair or not to Kamala Harris, who would know? I mean, she's a favourite and a protege of Barack Obama, and so she's been chosen, I guess, for her charisma and her energy and her, she's quick wit and so on, but she's not been popular. In the primaries, she had to drop out early on just after South Carolina, where she absolutely bottomed out. She did very badly with black voters. I'm not sure that it's going to attract any voters, but what I've been told by pollsters is that it just means that a bit more energy might get a few people. It's a game of numbers here in these swing states. Might just get a few more people to get out and go to the polls, and that's really all they need. Just a handful. It's just a percentage here and a percentage there in those crucial states.
Absolutely. One of the things about the event today that I thought was extraordinary was the focus on the 3-year anniversary of Charlottesville, where there were ugly protests, people wanting to tear down Ulysses S. Grant's statue, others wanting to defend it, white supremacists involved, a horrible attack where some sort of white supremacist drove a car into protesters. Yet Kamala Harris and Joe Biden today seem to want to tar Donald Trump with this event, link Donald Trump to the white supremacists.
Well, look, that's their MO. It's all about hating Trump, and really Donald Trump is the motivating issue in this election. The country is so polarised, and the hatred for him among those never-Trumpers Republicans and Democrats is just palpable. And this is what, Joe Biden sort of Mr. Nice Guy. He doesn't really go for the jugular too much. But Kamala Harris has shown, she showed during the primaries when she went for Joe Biden's throat herself, that she's, Donald Trump calls her mean and nasty. So she's certainly not averse to a little bit of blood sport. So I think she'll be going after Donald Trump. And it's actually quite difficult for him. How will he combat that? It's much more difficult for him to attack a woman. But look, he did a pretty good job of attacking Hillary Clinton, so I don't think it's going to hold him back.
I don't think attack has ever been his problem. While we've got you there, Miranda, back an issue that you've written about back in Australia and is playing out in Australia and in the US and around the world is the drug Ivamectin and its treatment of COVID-19 in conjunction with antibiotics and zinc. Are governments doing enough around the world to look at this treatment? Because some doctors say it's a really effective treatment for COVID infections.
Well, look, Dr. Barodi, who's an Australian doctor from Sydney, he's renowned around the world, has saved millions of lives because he came up with the triple therapy for the bacteria that causes peptic ulcers. And he's now come up with the triple therapy, which he says is extremely effective against COVID-19. Now, it's still undergoing clinical trials in 33 countries around the world, including in California. So I guess the jury's out until that comes back. But in off-label use in many countries, like Bangladesh and India, it's had remarkable effects. In India, there's a state there that had, with 100 million people that's just authorised it for use there. So that's even before the clinical trials. But we should know before Christmas whether it works or not.
Indeed. Thanks again for joining us, Miranda.
Thanks, Chris.